greater than 100. Now, usually when we're talking military history, a number like that, it's a casualty rate, or maybe the number of days an army was under siege. But here, no way. Here, it represents something literally astonishing.
It's the number of battles, skirmishes, and full-blown campaigns fought by one legendary commander against numerically superior empires, tribal coalitions, and entrenched armies without a single defeat. 0. Today, we are exploring the life of one of history's absolute greatest military strategists, a commander whose tactical genius is still, to this day, studied in military academies all over the world.
We're going to trace the complete, awe-inspiring journey of Khalid ibn Al-Walid. This explainer covers a profound transformation from being a fierce adversary of the early Muslims to becoming the ultimate defender of Islam, a man who earned a title bestowed upon him by none other than the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the Sword of Allah.
So here is our roadmap. We've got 1. The Sword of Quraysh, 2. Journey to the Light, 3. The Sword of Allah, 4. Uniting the Arabian Peninsula, 5. Triumph at the Yarmouk, and finally 6. A soldier's final rest. Okay, let's dive right into this.
Part 1. The Sword of Quraysh.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that to truly understand who Khalid became, we kind of have to rewind and set the scene in pre-Islamic Arabia. Khalid was born into the Banu Makhzum clan of the Quraysh tribe. This was a family with a seriously distinguished military status. His dad, who actually went by the Sword of Quraysh, trained him intensely in horsemanship and warfare, and initially, Khalid shared his tribe's fierce hostility toward Islam. In fact, his strategic brilliance was the exact reason the Muslims faced such a severe setback at the Battle of Uhud. When the Muslim archers left their positions, Khalid instantly spotted the opening, wheeled his cavalry right around, and attacked from the rear. He was an incredibly formidable enemy, completely dedicated to thwarting the spread of Islam. But, as you'll see, destiny had a very different path laid out for him.
Section 2. Journey to the Light.
So, the turning point in Khalid's life actually didn't happen in the heat of battle. It happened during a period of quiet reflection right after the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. Khalid really began to look inward. He realized that the Prophet's message was prevailing, and then he got this letter from his brother Al-Walid, who had already embraced Islam. His brother wrote about how astonishing it was that someone with Khalid's brilliant mind could just ignore the truth of Islam. But here is the most powerful part of that letter. His brother revealed that the Prophet, peace be upon him, had warmly asked about Khalid, saying that if he used his strength for the Muslims, it would be far better for him. That one simple, kind inquiry, it completely sparked a spiritual awakening.
Spurred by that letter and his own deep reasoning, Khalid packed his gear and immediately set off for Medina. And on the way, he actually bumps into Amr ibn al-As and Uthman ibn Talha, who, amazingly enough, were making the exact same journey for the exact same reason. When they arrived in Medina, Khalid dressed in his best garments and went to the Prophet, peace be upon him. He was welcomed with this warm smile. Khalid pledged his allegiance, but he had one really heavy request. He asked the Prophet to pray for his forgiveness for all those times he had fought against the Muslims. And the Prophet smiled and gave him this beautiful assurance, telling him that Islam completely erases everything that came before it. This huge, momentous event took place in Safar, the 8th year of the Islamic calendar.
Part 3. The Sword of Allah.
Khalid was now a Muslim, but honestly, his greatest tests were just getting started. I want you to keep the number 9 in mind here. Shortly after his conversion, the Muslims faced the absolutely massive Roman-Byzantine army at the Battle of Mu'tah. It was a staggering mismatch. The Muslims were just vastly outnumbered. During the incredibly fierce fighting, the 3 commanders appointed by the Prophet were successively martyred. The Muslim army was quite literally on the brink of total collapse. And that's when the banner was passed to Khalid. He steps into supreme command right in the middle of a chaotic, desperate battlefield. The fighting was so intense that Khalid would later recount breaking 9 different swords in his own hands that day.
Yeah, you heard that right. 9 swords shattered in combat. He later recalled, "All that remained with me was a Yemeni sword." Through just sheer physical strength and this unparalleled tactical genius, Khalid actually managed to reorganize the Muslim ranks. He confused the Romans into thinking massive reinforcements had arrived and executed a brilliant tactical withdrawal that completely saved the Muslim army from annihilation. When that news reached Medina, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, praised Khalid's incredible actions and officially bestowed upon him that immortal title, the Sword of Allah.
Section 4. Uniting the Arabian Peninsula.
Let's move to the next phase and see how this builds, because after the passing of the Prophet, Khalid became the completely indispensable military arm of the first caliph, Abu Bakr. His momentum was just unmatched. First, he plays a crucial role commanding the right flank during the peaceful conquest of Makkah in 8 AH. Then, in 11 AH, he is the hero of the Ridda Wars, famously defeating the false prophet Musaylama at the brutal Battle of Yarmouk, which effectively united the Arabian Peninsula under the Caliphate. Immediately after that, Abu Bakr sends him into Iraq, where he absolutely shatters the Sasanian Persian defenses in this rapid series of lightning-fast campaigns. And by 13 AH, he's ordered to march across a treacherous desert to reinforce the Muslim armies in the Levant against the Byzantines.
Part 5. Triumph at the Yarmouk.
So, by 13 AH, Khalid is facing the most decisive clash of his career, a battle that would permanently alter the geopolitical map of the world. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why he's considered one of history's finest generals. At Yarmouk, he was up against a massive, heavily armed Byzantine coalition over a grueling 6-day battle. His absolute masterstroke here, the creation of a mobile guard. This was a rapid mounted reserve force that he personally commanded. Whenever the Byzantines threatened to break the Muslim lines, Khalid and his mobile guard would gallop in, plug the gap, repulse the attack, and just vanish to the next hotspot. He used light cavalry to completely outmaneuver the heavy, static Byzantine troops. Plus, his sheer charisma united the diverse tribal warriors, keeping their morale ironclad over 6 days of fighting. The end result was a catastrophic defeat for the Byzantine Empire and the permanent opening of the Levant to Islam.
Section 6. A soldier's final rest. But as we all know, the true measure of a person isn't just how they lead, it's how they follow. Around 17 AH, during the reign of the second caliph, Umar ibn al-Khattab, the Rashidun Caliphate began shifting from rapid expansion to more of an administrative consolidation. Caliph Umar made the historic and somewhat shocking decision to dismiss Khalid from supreme military command. Now, the historical sources note this was partly due to administrative differences over how Khalid distributed war spoils. He was known to be highly generous to tribal nobles. But more profoundly, Umar had a spiritual strategy. He saw that the people were becoming utterly infatuated with Khalid. They started believing victory came simply because Khalid was there. Umar wanted to remind the Muslim community that victory comes only from Allah, not from any single man. And Khalid's reaction to this? Absolute, unquestioning obedience. He stepped down without even a hint of rebellion and just continued fighting in the ranks under the new commander.
And right there, that is the true essence of his character: absolute submission. Khalid famously proved that he didn't fight for the glory of command or for the praise of men. He fought for Allah. His ability to fight with the exact same ferocity and dedication as a regular soldier as he did when he was the supreme commander is, honestly, in many ways an even greater victory than anything he ever achieved on a battlefield. It showed a staggering, incredible level of humility and sincerity.
Eventually, Khalid retired to Homs in Syria, where he fell gravely ill in 21 AH. The man who had faced death 100 times in the vanguard of battle was now dying of illness. As he lay on his deathbed, surrounded by his armor and his weapons, which, by the way, were the only wealth he truly kept, he wept. He delivered these heartbreaking final words: "I have fought in so many battles, and there is not an inch on my body that does not bear a scar from a sword or an arrow, yet now I die on my bed like a camel dies. May the eyes of cowards never sleep." He passed away peacefully, mourned deeply by the entire Muslim world, including Caliph Umar himself.
So I want to leave you with this final thought to reflect on. What is the true meaning of victory? Khalid ibn Al-Walid was undefeated in over 100 battles, yet his greatest triumph wasn't tactical or territorial. His absolute greatest triumph was his spiritual journey. That beautiful transformation from a fierce enemy to a humble servant, and his absolute submission to his creator, whether he was holding the banner of command or standing quietly in the ranks. Thank you for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this deep dive into the life of the Sword of Allah has been as fascinating